Iran engages in secret talks with Russia to strengthen nuclear ambitions. Trump's incoming advisor urges Ukraine to go all in and lower draft age, and how captured North Korean soldiers will be useful for Ukraine. We will talk about this with Michael Shedelman, a political strategist based in Kyiv. Michael, glad to see you as always, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Olga.
Michael, the capture of North Korean soldiers is useful for Ukraine. Currently, specialists who know the peculiarities of North Korea are working with the prisoners, says Yevgeny Yerin, a representative of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. How might the intelligence gathered from captured North Korean soldiers be used to strengthen Ukraine's defense strategy? What specific expertise do the specialists working with North Korean prisoners bring, and how does it aid in understanding their role in this war?
You know, on one hand, these guys, these prisoners, they doesn't look some high-level officers of Korean army. So I can't believe we have a lot of very deep information, deep military information about this. But the information about the quantity of the people, the information of the logistic ways, for example, how they supply Korean soldiers to the front line from Korea, it is very interesting and very important. Next is more political information than military. When we will supply this information towards Western countries, that you can see, for example, okay, we have 12,000 or 20,000 Korean soldiers, and they supply by the sea, for example, and they pay somehow like that and like that. So it would also bring new sanctions on Russian Federation. It could bring for physical action in the Korean Sea. I mean, they somehow sent these troops by the sea, probably by the sea, towards Russia. And our allies from United States, they also technically could stop that, could stop just this supply by physical way. And we need this information. And also this is the, political scoop, like till now, it was only our evidence that Korean soldiers, they participate in this war. But now it is new evidence. We could organize something like press conference with these prisoners and to invite all the foreign journalists, so all the foreign press could cover this as a news. So the fact that North Korea is one of participants, it will be the fact now and not only our version of the facts.
Russia's ally is not only Korea, but also Iran. Iran has been conducting secret diplomatic missions to Russia to enhance its military and defense capabilities. According to the Times reports on January 13th, despite ongoing negotiations with the West regarding the revival of the nuclear deal, these covert discussions point to a deepening relationship between Tehran and Moscow. In what ways could the deepening relationship between Tehran and Moscow influence regional and global security dynamics? How do you think?
First, all the connections between Russia and Iran, they're mostly influenced on Middle East, not on our region, not on Russian-Ukrainian war, because they have common interest around Israel, in Gaza Strip. They both support Hamas and supply to Hamas weapon, Iran and Russian Federation. They supply money to Hamas. Iranians, they have Hezbollah, and Russians supply the weapon to the Hezbollah and intelligence information to Hamas and Hezbollah for to organize the terrorist attack. Russia helps to Hezbollah to organize these terrorist attacks on Israel. And also in the past, they controlled together Syria, de facto. I mean, Iran and Russian Federation. Now they've thrown out Russia and Iran, but I believe they have the plans about new Syria, about the relationship with the new authorities of Syria. Speaking about our front line, yes, they supply Shahed drones, they supply some armors, I mean some shells, but we never heard during the war, during the last year, for example, that Iran is ready to to grow up this quality of this supply and quantity of this supply. As we know, 50 till 60% of shells which Russian army uses on the front line, they are Korean shells, and less than 10% they are Iranian shells. So Iran doesn't have enough capacity to produce, like North Korea, with artillery shells for Russian Federation. So in regional scale, it is more about Middle East. But in global scale, yes, obviously in global scale, Iran and Russia is global partners, and they are one huge chain of terrorist states, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And they, for our sorrow, I believe, they not only communicate but cooperate in production of nuclear weapon. And Russian way, they send some components of nuclear weapon towards Iran, and they Russian specialists, they help to Iran to build nuclear objects for preparing nuclear weapon. And for exchange, I believe that Iranian scientists or Iranian engineers, they could supply missile technologies towards Russia, because Russia is very low tech in these missiles now, and Iran developed the new missiles. So maybe it will be exchanged like that.
Michael, about Russian oil, 6 European countries have called on the European Commission to lower the price ceiling for Russian oil set by the G7 countries at $60 per barrel. Would this reduce Moscow's revenue to continue the war in Ukraine without causing a market shock? Because we understand that measures that target revenues from the export of oil are crucial, since they reduce Russia's single most important income source.
It doesn't look that this wish by these 6 countries will bring the new sanctions. Why? Because when this ceiling of price of $60 was just defined 2 years ago, so these 6 countries, they wanted the same. This is Baltic states and I believe some North European, Scandinavian states. Their offer was to put the price like $45 or $50, not 60. But it didn't come to reality 2 years ago, and it doesn't look real today. But we have new sanctions from the US side and from British, and this is exactly sanctions against the oil industry of Russian Federation. This is sanctions against 2 big, rather huge oil companies of Russia. Not the biggest, but the companies number 3 and number 4. Surgutneftegas and Gazprom Oil, which is, as I mentioned, companies number 3 and number 4. Companies number 1 and number 2 is Rosneft and Lukoil. They are not under sanctions. They are under sectoral sanctions, but not the global sanctions. So Americans and British, they put the sanctions on these companies, and they put sanctions also on the very long list of CEOs and presidents of these companies as a physical person. Not only these under sanction companies, but about Lukoil, there was the same, and about Rosatom, for example, which is nuclear company of Russian Federation, about nuclear energy. So we received on Friday a huge new package of sanctions, which will influence Russian revenues from oil, and will influence very heavy, because these only 2 mentioned companies of oil, their common revenue is about $23 billion per year, $23 billion. And these companies, they are state-owned. So obviously the revenue of these companies will fall down. I don't know by which percentage, but obviously it will happen, because India proclaimed that India will not receive the oil from these companies and not receive oil by the ships, which also now under sanctions. And it is 180 new ships, which United States and Great Britain put the sanctions on Friday. So I believe that next week's till 1 month, we will have the new package of sanctions from European Union. They reported from European Commission that they work about the new package of sanctions, and they mentioned Russian nuclear industry, nuclear energy, I mean. And I believe that sanctions will be also against Russian oil companies, and this will bring really to reduce of finance of Russian war.
Michael, India intends to abandon oil tankers that have been sanctioned by the United States because of their role in transporting goods for Russia, which is another example of the impact of Washington's measures on the global oil market. And what impact might India's decision to abandon oil tankers sanctioned by the United States have on its relationship with Russia and also the global oil market?
Well, India is the second country which buys oil from Russian Federation. On the first place is China, on the second place is India. But we have a difference. China has a huge borderline with Russian Federation. So the oil, they can supply this oil from Russia to China by pipelines and also by rail transport, railway. But to India, Russians send all the oil through tankers, through the fleet. And to put the sanctions on this fleet, it is very important. It could, or in fact, destroy, almost totally destroy the supply of the oil from Russian Federation to India. And India followed the sanctions. During all the war, India followed the sanctions and buy only the legal oil from Russian Federation. Because India, generally, on global scale, they are allies of United States, not in our war, but generally in economic relationship, etc. So we very, very strong follow the sanctions. So I believe all of these measures against Russian companies and against Russian fleet, it could be about almost stopping export from Russia to India. And Russia just can't find any other client all around the world because all the other countries, Saudi Arabia and South American countries, they have their own markets and their markets are not empty. So Russia can't go from India, for example, and to sell it to, I don't know, to Africa, for example. Everybody has his supplier, permanent supplier. So that will be about to stop the trade of oil between Russia and India.
And also facing massive financial losses and a shrinking market, Russian energy giant Gazprom is preparing to cut its workforce at the company's central office. The proposed cuts could affect 1,600 employees and are part of a broader effort to reduce costs following a steep decline in European gas exports. Russian media, the Moscow Times, reported. How has the decline in European gas exports impacted Gazprom's financial situations?
Well, it is almost half of staff of headquarters of Gazprom, yeah, really. And Gazprom, historically, it is a huge company. It was like gargantuan scale when they were a third company by capitalization, not only from oil and gas, but generally from all the companies in the world. In the list of companies, just 15 years ago, Gazprom was the third company with a market cap of $350 billion. And just two companies, they're bigger, which is British Petroleum and Shell, if I remember well. And now the price of shares of Gazprom fall down by 100 times. So 100 times, yeah. So now it lost 99% of its capitalization, and now it is very, very small, very, very small company, really, because we stopped all the supply by pipelines towards Europe, Northern Way, and through Ukraine also, and only Turkish pipeline. This is the only pipeline which works. And now they sell the gas by this SPG model, which it is fluid gas, but as far as I know, on the next European package, also this gas will be banned from European market. I don't have 100% information. It will be included in this package, but at least now was discussed in Europe. So gas, in fact, Russia lost their main gas markets and all the main gas revenues. So now Russian economy stays on Russian oil and Russian metals, not on Russian gas, which was the base of Russian economy. Now it is not the base of Russian economy, obviously. But we have risks also, in Germany, in 1 month, we will have a general election to parliament, and the party which is now on the second or third place, but sometimes on the second place, and the party which is supported by Elon Musk, the Alternative for Germany, they had a meeting yesterday, and they said that they are ready to renew the agreement between Russia and Germany about supplying gas through Northern Way. So that is very bad news. So in theory, if government in Germany changes dramatically, so maybe Russian Gazprom will be renewed by that.
Next, about good news about allied military contingent. We talked about this with you, and we see that former UK Defence Secretary Grant Shapps has voiced his support for inviting Ukraine to join NATO and London's participation in a possible allied military contingent, which is being discussed as part of security guarantees for Ukraine. How might the UK's participation in a potential allied military contingent enhance Ukrainian security and its ability to defend against Russian aggression?
Well, for our sorrow, that is two different issues. About our membership in NATO, obviously that in nearest years we will not have a membership, and American administration is strongly against Ukrainian membership in NATO. We had previously the discussion with Mr. Biden administration, and it was questionable if we want or we don't want, and we have security agreement which we signed with Mr. Biden administration. They put this paragraph that Ukraine potentially will have a membership of NATO, but not with the new administration of Mr. Trump. So British claims about that now doesn't look optimistic. But about the British troops in potential ceasefire and the line of ceasefire, yeah, that sounds absolutely realistic, and we have rumors that next week or this week Keir Starmer, British Prime Minister, will visit Kiev and will discuss with President Zelensky the participation of British troops in this post-war decision, let's say. But we are. This is on one hand, we have very good friends in France, in Germany, and in Italy and UK, which are ready to send the troops, but all of them are ready to send the troops only after ceasefire. And if you ask me if I see any perspective of ceasefire, so not. This week we don't see that.
Michael, Mike Waltz, Donald Trump's incoming national security advisor, believes that Ukraine should lower the draft age in order to bring in hundreds of thousands of new troops and stabilize the front line. Why does Mike Waltz believe that lowering the draft age would help Ukraine stabilize the front line? What are the potential challenges or criticisms of lowering the draft age in Ukraine, as suggested by Mike Waltz, and not only Mike Waltz?
You know, we are in Ukraine in big uncertainty from the general election, president election in the US, because Mr. Trump team or potential team or some people who are potentially advisors or potentially some will fulfill the other positions in Mr. Trump administration, they send different messages, absolutely different, and sometimes just counter messages. For example, the same guy Waltz, he said that they will stop war during just 100 days. Oh no, sorry, it was Kit Kellogg, who is Trump's representative for special envoy to Ukraine and Russia. He said that he will stop war during 100 days. It means till April. If we now mobilize people which you mentioned, the young people, so till April, we will not be ready for a war. Absolutely. So it sounds like senseless. Or you say that you will bring the peace to Ukraine, or you should say you will bring more and more weapons, and when we should mobilize more people. Because now we have not, as President Zelensky said not once, we have not enough weapon for the new soldiers. So that is senseless to mobilize more people, more hundreds of thousands, as Walt said, but without having any weapon. And the vice president-elect, he said that U.S. will not send any weapon to Ukraine. So what we will doing with new soldiers without weapon? So I believe that we are in the situation that we should just wait. Just one week, till the inauguration of President Trump. And from the first Trump decisions, official decisions, not the interviews, not some claims of his advisors, we will see what is next step. Next step is the escalation of war against Russia, or the next step is negotiation. Now we can't say that.
We're waiting for Trump inaugurations, but now we see that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that the current U.S. administration, led by President Joe Biden, is making efforts to ensure the strongest foreign policy positions for the next administration of Republican Donald Trump, including on Ukraine. How is the Biden administration planning to ensure continuity in foreign policy, particularly regarding Ukraine?
Oh, this speech of Mr. Blinken was exactly about the sanctions, which was concluded on Friday, sanctions against Russian oil. So he said that these sanctions, they are not something for a couple of weeks till the Mr. Trump administration. No, it is serious, it is for the long time, and it will be one of the tools which the Trump administration will use in the negotiation. And also today, I heard from, I can't say now from whom of the advisors of Mr. Trump, of potential and future advisors, that we will just continue with new sanctions, and we feel that Mr. Trump is ready to supply more weapons for us for making the pressure on Mr. Putin in these negotiations. So generally, this speech of Antony Blinken was about these sanctions against Russian oil.
Michael, thank you for this important and, as always, interesting conversation. I need to say that Michael Shaileman, a political strategist based in Kyiv, was with us today. Subscribe on our YouTube channel and see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.